friends, my name is Ness, and today I'm linking up with the monthly recommendations group. This group was started by Trina over at Between Chapters and Kayla Rain, and basically every month they just give us a theme or topic and we all jump in to offer recommendations based on that theme. This month we are recommending books for people to put on their TBR for 2016. I've broken up my recommendations by category and I'll start with middle grade. She liked the word ineffable because it meant a feeling so big or vast that it could not be expressed in words. And yet, because it could not be expressed in words, people had invented a word to express it, and that made Liesl feel hopeful somehow. That was from Liesl and Poe by Lauren Oliver. This is a story of a young girl who is locked away in an attic by her stepmother until one day she is visited by a ghost from the other side named Poe. At the same time, a young apprentice manages to mix up a delivery that he makes and it gets him into a lot of trouble, and these characters all cross paths and embark on an adventure. This story is really an expression of loneliness and grief. Oliver has a talent for writing these big life truths in little tidbits wrapped in this fairy tale whimsy, and if you guys know me, you know that I am a sucker for fairy tales and it has that kind of feeling throughout this book. I am also a sucker for stories about grief or that explore grief, and that happens here. There's even a section that tells you that Oliver wrote this after she lost someone in her life. I don't want people to pass this up because it is middle grade and because Lauren Oliver can be very hit or miss, but I think this one is definitely worth a try. There was once an invisible man who had grown tired of being unseen. It was not that he was actually invisible. It was that people had become used to not seeing him. And if no one sees you, are you really there at all? A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. I know this one gets a little bit more mention around booktube, but if you haven't read it yet, I would definitely recommend it. I'm not confident that everyone will love it, but there is a lot here to experience. In this book, a monster visits a boy named Connor, and he comes to teach him some lessons and demand truth in return. It was a very simple story, or told in a very disarming way. The great thing about middle grade is that it has that quality where it can often be big themes and big things happening, but told in just a very simplistic way. And I think because of that here in this book, it can kind of be a sucker punch to the feels, which is definitely what happened to me. So I'm not sure that that's a universal thing. I don't know if everybody cried over this book, but it's definitely, as I said, something to be experienced. Moving on to young adult fiction. I used to think that the world was broken down by tribes, I said, by black and white, by Indian and white, but I know this isn't true. The world is only broken into two tribes. The people who are assholes and the people who are not. That is from The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman and Alexie. This is a good pick if you care about diversifying your reading, which we all should. The main character is a Native American boy living on a reservation, but he starts going to high school off of the reservation. I love this book for the main character and the kind of humor and hope that he brings to what are often heartbreaking situations. Another positive thing about this book is that it's a pretty short read, so this is something that you could definitely put in between larger reads or after a book hangover, something like that, something to keep on tap if you ever need to break up some larger reading. No matter how smart you might appear to be later with your set of diplomas on their fine white parchment, the mistakes you made before the real lessons sunk in never fade. No matter how high you hang those official documents with their official seals and signatures, how shining and polished the frame, your reflection in the glass will never let you forget how stupid you felt when you didn't know any better. That was from Girlchild by Tupelo Hassman. Here's a book that again I'm recommending, but I'm not entirely sure that everyone will like, but it left such an impression on me that I want to recommend it so more people read it and we can talk about it. This is a story told in vignettes and out of order, so it's very much a layered story that you kind of have to pick at until you get the sense of her writing and the flow of it and really where she is going with the story. It's choppy at first, but Hassman and by extension the main character are so full of wit. The story follows a girl named Rory Dawn Hendricks, the self-proclaimed feeble-minded daughter of a feeble-minded daughter. She's growing up in a trailer park in Reno with her mother where things aren't always very easy for them. She's a reader and a daydreamer though, and she has plans to make it out, but she's dealing with that and just kind of the reality of her life. In the adult category, I have two books that I read this year. Maybe he had it all wrong. Maybe he wasn't a victim at all. Not at all. Because he had decided that this was the only thing that would ever truly be his, and so he clung to it, would cling to it forever. In Perfect Light by Benjamin Alire-Saenz. I know a lot of you know his YA novel, Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. After I read that this year, I decided that I wanted to read more by this author and I picked up this adult book from him. And my goodness, this man can write. His prose seems effortless and graceful, and it really takes the edge off a story that is all sadness upon sadness. In this book, a man named Andres is sent to counseling after his rage gets the best of them, and his counselor is Grace. So we follow Andres' story, and then by extension, Grace's story, Grace's son's story, and then one other person connected to Andres, so it is told from multiple points of view. The story is told in pieces and to no real definite end besides Andres had a really rough start in his life and Alire-Saenz can write like a champ. Rough as life can be, I know in my bones we are supposed to stick around and play our part. Even if that part is coughing to death from cigarettes or being blown up young in a house with your mother watching. And even if it's to be that mother. Someone down the line might need to know you got through it. That is from Did You Ever Have a Family by Bill Clegg. This wasn't my favorite of the Man Booker nominees that I read this year, but I am recommending it because I think it might have been the most accessible. Clegg actually errs sometimes in the cliche, like he borders on the cliche every once in a while, which is why this story probably wasn't my favorite, but again, because of that, I felt like it was just easy to sink into, and he creates a mood like nobody's business. This is the story of a woman who loses her family in a house fire. We see the story from her point of view, but also others connected to the tragedy and in her town. It's an exploration of some very human feelings, again, about loss and life. Those are my recommendations for your TBRs in 2016. If there is anything you think I absolutely have to read next year, let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys soon. And I realize that pretty much every book that I put on this list might be a little bit sad. Happy New Year!